This is a story about how my sister was with a man that she met 3 weeks prior.
Hey, beautiful people, how you all doing today? It's your girl Destiny here, and welcome back to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So, this video is a story time of a woman who was telling the story about how her sister was unalived by a man the sister knew for just 3 weeks, and the situation got the sister on her life. And the story just around about how the man the sister just met, ex-girlfriend, arranged the unaliving of them, how it was done, how she found out, and how she was able to process the unaliving and all that. And for me, this story is a little bit heavy. It's a blind reaction. So if I'm doing this intro now, I've already watched it, the story time, and it's really heavy. That's why my energy seems a little half. So yeah, I just hope I don't put somebody's spirit down, but I just feel like stories like this, because whether I like it or not, these are realities that it's happening. There's something I always have in back of my mind. One of my friend was one where they said, one thing that was sure in life, one thing that is guaranteed and promised in life is the day we're born and the day we're going to die. That is a very it's a very heavy subject to talk about. But the truth is that that is our reality as humanity. It's going to happen to each and every one of us. So yeah, let's go check out the story time and then we'll come back and talk more.
This is a story about how my sister was with a man that she met 3 weeks prior. So in 2014, my sister had just turned 27 years old and she lived in another city in Pennsylvania with my mom. She was a loving, caring individual, and I feel like she was just kind of searching for love, but searching for love in the wrong places. She started dealing with this guy, and from what I understand, this guy was a dealer, and he didn't like kids, so that's a key part to this story. So one day, he, I guess, had went to New York City, did some things in New York City, and then he was on his way back to the city that they were living in. I guess he called her and said that he was going to pick her up so that they can hang out, and apparently they were supposed to go to the movies. So he comes into town and he picks her up. And when he picks her up, actually, before they leave, my mom has this feeling, like she has this eerie feeling like something just isn't right. And so she said to her, she was just like, listen, if you're going anywhere, then you need to take your son with you. And my sister was like she was so determined to go out with this guy that she literally was like, okay. Even knowing that this guy didn't like kids, she was so desperate to go that she said, okay. So apparently, like the moments before she walked out the door, my mom said she got like another eerie feeling and she just was like, you know what, never mind, just leave him here. So she leaves her son there with my mom and then she goes out the door. So she goes with this guy, and apparently prior going to the movies, they make a pit stop at his apartment. So they're in the apartment, and from what I understand, while they're in the apartment, at some point she ends up going to the bathroom. And while she ends up going to the bathroom, there's a knock at the door. And from what I understand, with the knock at the door, he looks through the peephole and he sees somebody that he knows. That's a major part to this story. So he opens the door, and when he goes to open the door, this guy like kind of bum rushes into the door. So not the person that he saw in the peephole, it was a man. So he saw his ex-girlfriend in the peephole, so he opened the door, not thinking anything of it. However, come to find out, the ex-girlfriend had a new boyfriend and she was setting him up. So he bum rushes through the door and comes in, gets him down on his knees, and somehow there's a scuffle and he the guy that my sister is dating in the back of the and when the go off, of course, you know, they're loud. So my sister was in the bathroom, so she didn't think anything of it. So she literally screamed, and when she screamed because she heard the shots, that's how they knew that she was there. So they go back there to the bathroom, and shoots her twice, once in the upper left arm and then down in the torso. And then they leave. So with them leaving, I guess neighbors heard, but never called 911. I guess maybe didn't want to be involved or what have you. So come to find out, the boyfriend and girlfriend who committed the crime called some and had them go back into the apartment and take his phone and my sister's phone. He paid them X amount of dollars to go in there and take the phones. So they go in, take the phones. They don't take any money. They don't take anything else that's in there. They literally take the phones. Take the phones. And then the girl that took the phone then does an anonymous call to 911 and says that she thinks she heard. However, by this time, they were already, they've been gone. They've already been laid in there, deceased. My mom said that she woke up out of her sleep. And when she woke up out of her sleep, she had just like this feeling. So when she looked, she saw that my sister, wasn't there or didn't come home. So she called her phone, and she said when she called it the first time, the phone rang. It rang until it went to the voicemail. No answer. So she said she waited a few minutes and then she called the phone again. Well, when she called the phone again, the phone immediately went to voicemail. So at that point, I'm thinking they had already got a hold of the phones and then maybe turned the phones off so that, I don't know, maybe something with the locations or what have you. So my mom says, even though she was feeling away, it was late at night, so she went to sleep. So as she goes to sleep, there's a knock at the door. And so follow for part 2. This is part 2 on how my sister was the man that she met 3 weeks ago. To start off from the last video, so at exactly 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock on my mom's door. So she thought that she heard something and she wasn't sure. So then there was a knock again. So she gets up and she goes to the door and she says, "Who is it?" And when she says, "Who is it?" the 2 detectives were standing there and they stated who they were. So she opens the door. So when she opens the door, she's still kind of like frazzled. Like she's kind of almost feeling like she's in a dream because she opens the door and 2 detectives are standing at the door. So she's like, "Can I help you?" And they say, "Hi, ma'am, we're wondering if you know a woman by the name," and says my sister's name, Aisha Holden. And it's not funny, but my mom says, because if you had to know my sister to know how she was, like she was funny. She always cracked jokes. Like you just couldn't really take her serious. So the first thing my mom says is, "Well, what did she do?" So they said, "Can we come in?" So she lets them in. So I guess they're like asking her all these different questions. Like, when's the last time she talked to her? And she's basically saying like, "Well, I've been calling her and calling her. The phone did ring, but now it's going to voicemail." And then she basically breaks down the situation that, she met this guy and that, he came to pick her up and he was supposed to be taking her to the movies. And, she went off with this guy and she hasn't heard from her since. She said she started calling her like around 11:45 midnight that night. And the phone, it rang for a little bit and then she started calling it again and it started going to voicemail. So long story short, they ask her, at this point she tells them like, "That's my daughter, like what's going on? Because what is all this about?" Like she's starting to get frustrated because you know how it is when the detectives come, they ask all these questions before they basically tell you what's going on. So at some point within the conversation, they ask her to sit down. And so she goes to sit down. And when she goes to sit down, they proceed to tell her that my sister was. At this point, when they tell her that, she still does not believe them. Like she does not believe that that they just told her that her daughter. She's like, "You need to call my daughter." But at this point, she's saying, "Call me." She's like, "You need to call my daughter. You need to call my daughter. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, what are you talking about? Is this a joke?" She was alone. And at the same time, she had my sister's son with her who was sleeping. And at the time, he was only 3 years old. So at this point, she starts calling my phone, but it's 5:30, almost 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be up for work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, I didn't hear the phone. I had the phone on vibrate. So she calls my aunt, and we're extremely close. So at some point, my aunt starts calling me, and my cell phone, I remember it like it was yesterday. My cell phone starts ringing on the nightstand, and it actually felt like I was in a dream. The phone was ringing, 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 and it rang so much that it fell off the nightstand onto the floor. And so when I picked up the phone, because it was ringing, it was my aunt, and I literally like went off. I'm just like, why do you keep calling me? Like, I gotta get up, I gotta go to work, yada yada yada, whatever, whatever. So she's like, get up, get up. She's like, I'm on my way to get you. I'm on my way to get you. Something happened to Isha. Something happened to Isha. And I'm just like, what? Now, key part to this. I know this sounds absolutely insane, but 2 years prior to my sister's unalived, I had a dream that she was in a ditch. And I remember I called her on the phone and she didn't answer for hours. And when she finally answered the phone, I literally cursed her out. Like, why didn't you answer the effing phone? Like, I've been calling you. I had this dream. I was worried, yada, yada. So it's crazy that exactly 2 years to the date of that dream, my sister was. So I get myself, like, I jump up, I'm like frazzled. I'm like trying to get myself together, everything like that, throwing some clothes on. So I call into my job and I let them know that I'm not coming in because something happened to one of my siblings. That was all I said. So in the meantime, by then my aunt gets to my house, and it's about a 45-minute ride to where my mom lives in the next city over. So we're riding up there. Now, mind you, as we're riding up there, in my mind, I'm thinking, not that this is a joke, but I'm thinking, like, there's no way that, like, this is true. Like, I know we're going to get there. She's going to be okay. Or, she just didn't come home. Like, there's no way. So while we're riding up there, I get online and I look up the news in my mom's city. And it says, male and female found deceased in an apartment building. So, and it's crazy because look at my hands. I'm like shaking, reliving the story. But even then in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that is her. Follow me for part 3. Part 3 on how my sister was with a man she met 3 weeks ago. So to jump off from where I was in part 2. So I'm writing up, I see the article, and I'm still in disbelief. Like, no, there's no way this can't be. So we get up to the city and we get to my mom's house. And when I get there, my mom is just, I felt like she was like in shock. Like she came out of her apartment, and, my nephew was there, who again is only 3 years old. And, he's bouncing around and bopping around. And my mom starts telling us all the things that the detectives, and the cops said to her, and like all these different things, but it still doesn't seem real. However, they said that we needed to go to the hospital to ID her body. So at this point, we all get in the car, which is me, my mom, my aunt, and my nephew. And I had reached out to my sister, had a different dad. So we have the same mom, but she had a different dad. So I had reached out to some of her dad's side of the family, and 2 of her cousins said that they were on their way up to the hospital as well. So we get to the hospital. The crazy part is, as I told you in part 2, that I called into my job. When I called into my job, instead of it being a private matter, which to this day I'm still disgusted, it literally spread like wildfire. They literally must have been chatting and chatting and chatting and like trying to find out information and all this other stuff. It got out so fast. So mind you, this is in a city 45 minutes over. It wasn't even in the city that I lived in. When we get to the hospital, we walk in, and the craziest thing happens. We go to security and we tell them why we're there. I gave the security my ID and everything like that, which is crazy, is the phone rang as I'm standing there. And guys, please forgive me because I'm a little shaky, because it's every time when I think about it, it's like reliving it all over again. But I'm standing in front of the security guard's office at the hospital, and the phone rings. He answers the phone, and someone on the phone says that they're me. So they call the hospital trying to get information on my sister and says that they were me. And it's so crazy. Like, the guard was like, you're, Jasmine Holden or whatever. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, well, that's funny because she's standing right here in front of me. And then he hangs up. So people were literally already calling, trying to be nosy and get information. So we sit down for a couple of minutes, and they said we had to wait for, someone to come and get us. So someone comes and gets us, and we all get in the elevator. Now, this is where it gets crazy. We get in the elevator, and still, I did not think that it was true that this was happening. I'm still like, no, we're going to go down there. We're going to ID the body. It's not going to be her. Like, this is a joke. It's not, We got in that elevator, and the elevator started going down. And when it started going down, I honestly felt like my heart just like sank. But in my mind, I'm still trying to tell myself, like, there's no way, like this, there's just no way. Like, we're going to go in here. It's not going to be her. It's all going to be fine, whatever. So we get down to the bottom floor. It's so cold. It's dark. It's quiet. I didn't know that this is like the morgue of, the hospital. I've never been, in a situation like this before. So they take us to this room, and the door's closed, and they had 2 guards there. And I remember them saying, when you get inside, please, you're not able to, don't touch anything. Like, don't touch the body, you can't touch the body. So in my mind, I'm still like, there's no way. They open the door. And when they open the door, she was laying there. Like, she was laying, like, I don't know if it was a bed or like what it was, but she was laying there, and she was kind of like in a white bag, and they had it like unzipped, and she had like a sheet, and the sheet was kind of like folded to here. And the crazy part is, now you got to understand that me and my sister were a year, not even a year and a half apart. And so when I walked in there, and she was like just laying on the bed, and like, her eyes were like not closed, but they weren't open. She had like a little piece of like coming down her nose. And in my mind, I still did not believe that she was alive. Like, I could have, like, I was standing there, and it was like, I felt like I saw her chest breathing. And I just remember, like I didn't hear anything around me, nothing around me, like nothing at all. Like, come back for part 4. This is part 4 on how my sister was with the man that she met 3 weeks ago. Sorry, guys, I'm outside of my kids' soccer, and I don't want them to hear. So anyway, as I was saying, so we walk into this room, and she's laying there on the table, and everything literally, I can't hear anything. Like, I look over, and my mom, literally, when I tell you guys, she was screaming. I mean, she must have jumped 10 feet off of the ground, and the security guards had to literally grab her and tackle her to the floor because she was screaming. And I mean, but in the midst of her screaming, it was like I heard her screaming, but I didn't hear her screaming. They tackled her to the floor, and at this point, I start calling my sister's name. I'm like, Aisha, get up, Isha, get up. And she's not moving. She's just laying there on the table, and I'm just literally, I'm calling her. I'm like, get up. And again, I'm still thinking she's like breathing, like, even though she's not, but when you're so in shock, you have no idea. And the last thing I remember, I just remember everything going pitch black. I must have blacked out. I must have, fell out. I must have, I don't know. But I come to it, I get up, and I go over to her body, and I'm just looking. Like, I'm just looking at her, and like, it was like a dream. Like, just imagine your sibling, your loved one, and you're just literally standing over top of their deceased body. It was the most outer body experience, and it's something that honestly I wouldn't wish on anybody. I'm going to continue with more videos, but to know me is to know that I took care of my sister. Like, my mom was on, sorry guys, my entire life. And I practically raised my sister. So to see her laying there on a table like that, it was literally the most, it was a pain that I can't even begin to explain. The pain, the hurt, it was just, it was pure insanity. So fast forward, guys. After that, we left the hospital, and then I honestly feel like I didn't even get time to grieve because, like I said, my mom was still an addict at the time. So everything fell on me. So I had to literally do everything from planning a funeral to, and then immediately I was a single mom already with my first son. So I had to take her son and take him back home with me. Like, I didn't have a babysitter, for him. I didn't have childcare. Like, it was just a lot, guys. Like, it was just horrible. It was the most horrible experience that you could ever imagine. Fast forward to the trial. First of all, the girl who helped her boyfriend, the guy and my sister, she fled. So she had to be captured by bounty hunters, and she fled all the way to Florida. So they found her in Florida. They found him by stuff that he was posting on Facebook and like tips. And what's crazy is, for a couple of months, I would go up there because I kind of felt like, even though how investigations go where, they're doing work behind the scenes, but I just felt like the case was moving too slow. And I watched, a lot of First 48, and I just kind of felt like my sister's case was not being handled correctly. So I literally would leave work and drive 45 minutes all the way up to the next town, and I would go up there and basically look for clues and knock on doors. Like, when I tell you, I was not letting her pass away in vain. I was knocking on doors. I have flyers, posters. I was putting them on trees and telephone poles and everything. And people were like leaving tips and like, putting stuff on my Facebook, and I was sending it over to the police. Like, it was just a lot. But at the end of the day, the guy was captured. So was the girl. They actually used the girl to turn on the guy to be able to fully pin everything on him. And all in all, the trial lasted for about a week. He got sentenced to almost 80 years. Because technically he got sentenced to 45 years, but he was already 42 years old when he went in there. So technically it'd be 80 some odd years that he would be in there with no possibility of parole. So even though I wanted him to get a life sentence, I mean, I was okay with that because that was the best that was on the table. I'm going to do another part 5 so that you guys can understand how I maneuvered with her son. And yeah. So this was a guy when I first got him with my sister. This was the first day I got full custody of him. And this teddy bear is made out of my sister's clothing the day that she passed away. And I had it made into a bear for him. And every year, this is what I do for him. His favorite gift for Christmas comes from his mom. Just watch.
I was told to deliver this. All right? So let's read it. All right. So you're AJ, right? Mm-hmm. To AJ. From?
Mom in heaven.
She says, I love you always, son. Aww. Merry Christmas. Be good. I'm always with you.
Oh, my holiest realization.
What is it?
It's the ticket for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow.
And this is my baby now. He's 13.
Wow.
Hey guys, this is part 6 and 7. Tonight I'm doing part 6 and 7 of my sister was with the man she met 3 weeks ago. So tonight I'm going to focus on a lot of things that I've been seeing There's so much to go over still, but I'm going to go over some of the things that I've been seeing in the comments. So first things first, I never really did the upload an extra photo thing, so I'm going to try that. So I'm just going to point here and hopefully I'm able to put the photo in, but this is the guy who, my sister. Now I'm hoping that I'm able to put the picture in there. If I don't, guys, forgive me. I'll try to put it in the comments or something like that, but let's go there first. So the man who, my sister, was sentenced to 40 years for a double. He was already 42 years old, so that would give him 82 years, you know, until he's 82 years old to be able to get out of jail. That was the max of the sentence because it was third degree, and then like some other things, using a hand and all of that kind of stuff. As for her, this is major because so many people keep asking about this. As for her, she got time served. She got time served, which was technically 8 months. And the reason for that being is because they had to use her testimony against him because technically there was no one who saw it. So he could have potentially got off. So what they did was have her flip on him so that she could ID him as the human, and in exchange for that, they basically let her walk. It was actually heartbreaking because if you watch my other previous stories, you know that she was the one who set this whole thing up. So how dare they? And that was very hard because when they brought it to me, I was like, no, absolutely not. But then I had to understand after they broke it down, the detectives, like, listen, there's a chance that he could walk. So we have no choice but to go this route. So she basically got time served. Another main thing that I want to touch on, guys, is there's so many people that are in the comments basically saying, how do you know, like basically word for word what happened? Let me explain that to you. So a lot of you know, watching the previous videos, and I'm going to go into a whole nother video in regard to my mom, but let's talk about this right now. So I spoke on, you know, my mom with her addiction and things like that. So you could only imagine, my mom was already in addiction. So can you imagine now knowing that her daughter, what that did to her? My mom literally was done for. Like, she, when I say went off the deep end as far as the drinking and drug use and all that kind of stuff, just a mess. My sister, for those of you that don't know, was the youngest of us three. And you know how they always say, like, your parents don't have favorites, but we all knew that my sister was my mom's favorite. They were like this. The relationship was extremely toxic between them two, but they were inseparable. So that left me as the next of kin in line to be able to handle everything. So as far as like the investigation goes, so when the detectives were doing all their work and everything went through me. Everything, the phone calls, we got this evidence, everything that they were finding out, it was all going through me. The detectives were literally calling me for months, telling me how this went on. Also, there was cameras inside the boyfriend's apartment. So the cameras gave them pretty much a lot of the information. So you could hear the screaming, you could hear the knock at the door, you could, like, all of that stuff, you literally saw it all on camera and you could hear it. Now, I have to be honest with you guys. Some of the stuff, because that was my sister and I was so still going through it and just so hurt, there was a lot of things that I didn't want to be a part of or I didn't want to see. Because I've had a previous family member who passed away, I knew how the investigation worked. So if you've been through this, you know that toward the trial or during the trial, they come with this manila envelope. And in the envelope is pictures of the actual crime scene and your deceased loved one and all of that. And I told the detectives from the beginning, please, do not, under any circumstances, show me any pictures of my sister deceased. I was the one that was in control of everything as far as my sister's funeral went. And a lot of you guys don't know, but I'm actually a beautician. And so I was strong enough to even do my sister's hair the day of her funeral. Again, I was still in shock. So it wasn't hard to do because it still did not hit me that she was gone. Like, yes, she was laying there. Yes, she was in the casket that I picked out. Yes, she was deceased, but it's still, because you got to remember, I got her son and then I went right into planning a funeral. So everything was moving. There was people around every single day. So I never got a chance to actually grieve. So I was moving, planning, never was alone. Like, so I told them, do not show me the photos. I wanted to remember my sister the way that I laid her to rest. I didn't want to see her laying there. I didn't want to see the scene. I didn't want to see blood. I didn't want to see any of that. I did not. So I ran the entire investigation, went through me. So for the people who keep asking, how do I know how this happened, that happened? The detectives called me every other day, or when a couple weeks went by, I was the point of contact. When the trial went on, I was the point of contact. When they came to me with the plea for her and the sentencing for him, everything went through me. I also want to touch base on my sister. I got a copy of her death certificate, but I was not, and I'm still not strong enough to get a copy of her autopsy report. I didn't get a copy of the autopsy report because in my mind, I did not want to see the time that she was pronounced versus the time that they thought that she was. Where my sister was pew-pewed, it was like in her upper left arm and then her bottom torso. In my mind, I just felt like that's not an instant death. So I felt like it played in my mind, y'all. It played in my mind for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months. It played in my mind like, did she just lay there? Like, did she lay there just dying, like just thinking like she made the wrong decision or she shouldn't be there? Like, did she just lay there just knowing like nobody was coming to save her? Like, nobody was coming. And I just felt in my mind like she probably just bled out because nobody came. No one called 911. Like, so I, to this day, have not ordered a copy of her autopsy report because I didn't want to see those times. I didn't want to see the time that they believe she passed away to the time that they pronounced her, like in between. My soul cannot take feeling like she just laid there and just knew that nobody was coming. Like, nobody was coming. I'm going to leave off here and then I'm going to go to part 7.
Wow, that was a heavy story. Okay, so definitely there's going to be a part 2. This is a very hard video to watch. Like, honestly, I don't understand why people put themselves, or people make relationship, friendship with people that you know for sure that their lifestyle is dangerous, and there's some possible probability that comes with the type of lifestyle they live, and yet you go associate yourself with them. I can just really see how heavy everything is on the sister doing everything and getting all this information, processing this information, trying not to grieve, not to be weak, but just to get things going and moving and all that. And I also like the sweet thing I saw is about how she's raising her sister's son, and she's doing an amazing job. The boy looks happy. Honestly, this is very, very telling. I'm not. You guys know I'm usually not that short of words, but this is a very sorry video, and even the way she tells the story, it was really quick, fast, but the details that comes with it is really crazy. So there's going to be a part two, which I don't know what's there because it's like a blind reaction that I just did on this video. So we're going to check out what she has to say in part two, and then we'll talk about. So far, you guys let me know what you think. Are you speechless like me? Because I am really speechless at this point. I really don't have much to say. Like, it's just almost like the story just drained my energy. Like, yeah. Anyway, let's go check out part two. But as always, you guys know the deal. Share, leave your thoughts, share this video, give it a thumbs up because so that YouTube can push it out. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel because that's how you get notification for part two. So subscribe and click the notification bell. Okay. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.